Hello, I'm Coach Frank Allocco, and today I'd like to speak to you about a lesson in love. After 4 years of serving as a backup quarterback, the winter of 1975 saw me as the designated starting quarterback at the University of Notre Dame. I fondly recall that time, the excitement, the jubilation, and the appreciation that I felt in finally getting my opportunity to fulfill my dreams. I remember our winter football workouts and how I would leave the athletics and convocation center in my blue Volkswagen Fastback and sometimes just honk the horn as I drove home, the noise proclaiming my happiness. It truly had been a challenging journey to arrive to this point. And I decided that I was going to attend Mass every day to thank God for rewarding my faith with this opportunity. One January day, near the end of the service, an old man walked down the aisle of the church and sat down in front of me. It was a freezing day and, in fact, a blizzard, and this man's body was shaking as he rubbed his hands rapidly in his attempt to warm them. And as I looked closer, I actually saw tears frozen on his face. I couldn't wait for Mass to end so I could speak to him and hear his story. Moments later, I introduced myself to Harry Davis, and a new friendship was born. I walked around the pew and I sat next to him and asked him why he was so late for Mass. He told me that he lived on the highway in front of the church and that he rode his bike to church every single day, and that today, because of the snowstorm, it was a struggle to get there. I was surprised that I had never noticed him before, but truly grateful that this blustery day had brought us together. As our conversation continued, I was amazed and quite frankly was warmed by the fact that he reminded me so much of my grandfather. Toward the end of the visit, I mentioned that I came to Mass every day and would be happy to pick him up on my way. He quickly accepted my offer, and the next day, he unknowingly began teaching me his many, many lessons. Each morning saw us sitting together in the front row, our friendship growing each day through the manifestation of our faith. As I drove him the short distance home after the service one day, I fleetingly asked him what he usually did after Mass. In a matter-of-fact tone, he told me that he ate breakfast and then rode his bike to the cemetery to visit his wife's grave. This trip, just 3.5 miles in length, 10 minutes by car, would take him several hours of pedaling. This man, in his mid-80s, rode his bicycle every single day for 5 years, regardless of rain, sleet, or snow. The fact that he lived on a main highway and had to traverse an exit ramp and cross another intersecting highway, would often see trucks speeding by him on rainy days, splashing water on him. And on snowy days, he was often pummeled with snow. Oftentimes, the force of those unexpected events would knock him off his bike. But after each fall, he would get back up and pedal on. Nothing was going to distract him from his commitment to honor his wife. After hearing of these incredible travel challenges, I told him that my first class of the day was a late one, and I would be happy to drive him to the cemetery each day after Mass. The next morning, at the conclusion of the service, a beautiful, inspiring tradition began that saw us leave the church together and drive 10 minutes to Highland Cemetery. During that short trip, Harry would entertain me as he shared the stories of his past. A carpenter by trade, he told me how he helped to build Newt Rockney's house and countless other local homes and structures in the South Bend community. I never shared the fact that I was the starting quarterback at Notre Dame with him. Yet his stories always seemed to revert to the legendary football players and coaches of the Fighting Irish. In fact, one day he took me for a walk across the cemetery grounds to show me the real grave of Newt Rockney. He was so proud to tell me it's not like the one over there that they put up for the tourists. This is the real Newt Rockney grave. Each day when we arrived, I would sit alone in my car and I would respectfully watch his silent ritual as he walked to his wife's grave, brushed off the snow, and knelt before it reverently in prayer. He did this for weeks. And one day, as our relationship deepened, he asked me to join him. It was an honor to share in his routine. And afterwards, we would walk together slowly back to my car. And he would speak to me about the spring and his excitement that we were going to make a wooden cross and put artificial flowers around her grave. Months later, I would suffer a severe shoulder separation. Prior to my surgery, I was visited by the parish priest from Christ the King Church, who was making his prayer rounds through the hospital. Before he blessed me, he looked at me surprisingly and questioned, "You are Harry Davis's friend? Does he know you're the quarterback at Notre Dame?" I told him that our friendship was not based on that. It sprung from something much, much deeper. My injury and subsequent rehabilitation prevented me from returning to seeing Harry for several weeks. But prior to the school year ending and my return to New Jersey, I stopped by to visit him. His fading memory prevented him from remembering who I was. And he was quite apprehensive and fearful that I was another person trying to move him away from his home. I tried vainly to convince him that I was his friend, but the time away had eradicated his memories, and I dejectedly accepted our new reality. Before leaving his doorstep for the last time, I gave him a white woolen sweater. I am sure that the warmth my gift gave was certainly never enough for the gift of the countless lessons he gave to me as he taught me what the real depth of love and commitment was. Imagine a devotion so intense that it would see an 85-year-old man ride his bike for hours in the snow and sleet of an Indiana winter just to spend a few moments at his beloved wife's grave. On my annual visit to Notre Dame, my friends and I visit Newt Rockney's grave and then take that short walk through the oak trees to visit the resting place of Harry and his wife, Prudence. I share the story of our friendship as we kneel reverently and we clean the area around his grave. A tear always comes to my eye as I imagine him sleeping peacefully, lying by her side, content in being where he always wanted to be. I am ever grateful for that bitter, cold blizzard that invited this stranger to warm my life. I am truly appreciative for this kind and gentle angel who I firmly believe was sent to me to teach me the everlasting lessons of love, commitment, and loyalty that he lived, taught, and modeled each day of his life. Keep listening, keep learning, and strive to be your best. And remember, excellence doesn't take days off.